Rise Awakenings, part of the Rise Radio Network where advice meets action.
We're here to spark your growth, lift your spirit, and help you crush your potential.
Rise Awakening, hear the call. Through the static, we break the wall. Your station, your voice where dreams awaken.
Rise Awakenings, let's rise together.
Start with the quiet parts, the things you hide behind your laugh. Sit with the ache a while. Let every question breathe and ask, who was I trying to be? Who am I when I just stay? Name every tender scar and let them have their say. Till your heart carries you. This is the blue.
Pages of old beliefs, stories that kept you playing small. Lay them out on the floor, see which ones never fit at all. Offer your younger self a kindness you never this is
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope everyone is well. And if you are one who has that time off from your job, then yay for time off. Welcome to the Bloom. If you're new here, the wisdom that I share on this podcast is based on my own personal experience and the knowledge that I have gained from my educational and healing journeys. And I share whatever I share in the greatest degree of love. It resonates with whomever it resonates with. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. I'll get to every chat question, the order in which I receive it. So make sure you're putting questions in there for me and Micah to catch as I am chatting. Today we're talking about responsibility. So this is going to be a very interesting conversation. Thank you, Micah, for being the behind the scenes man behind the curtain, producer, director extraordinaire. This is a judgment-free and safe space. I love you all so much, and I'm so happy to dive into this. Let's begin. Okay, so responsibility. Why am I talking about responsibility today? This actually was requested by one of the folks that come to my Sunday Circle. I host a Sunday Circle in person here in Columbus, Ohio, at my home. So the individual requested that I talk about responsibility because of some personal stuff she has going on in her life. But I thought to myself, we can't make this shit up. How divinely timed is this? Because this fits right into all these topics we've been building and building and building that seem to just unfold exactly as we are meant to receive it for our next leveling up. I love how this all works. So, responsibility, boundaries, and the sacred duty that you have to yourself, understanding what is yours to carry and what is not. Let's review all of this because this is an important piece of you getting out of your own way. So all the things that we've been talking about, let's talk about them in action, starting with the what is ours to carry and what is not about responsibility. So many people were raised with a distorted idea of responsibility. Some people are taught just take care of yourself, and other people are taught take care of everyone else first before you take care of yourself. Okay. A lot of us, especially us that have dealt with trauma, were taught to overgive, overfunction, oversacrifice, emotionally rescue others, people please, suppress ourselves, and to carry responsibilities that never belong to us, right? Especially the neurodivergent trauma survivors. Especially those of you that have been caregivers to important people in your life. And especially the most compassionate people in your experience, right? Because they feel the compassion for others, they tend to, all right, well, let me help. Overused empathy, but not for themselves. So I wanted to cover like reclaiming your healthy responsibility, okay? Responsibility for your healing, your body, your mind, your spirit, your actions. Just reclaiming all of that for yourself, especially your boundaries, your choices, and your evolutionary journey. Okay, because ultimately, that's what it's about. And we also understand that we're not responsible for managing, fixing, saving, controlling, or carrying other adults. That's a tough one for a lot of you. And that realization can completely transform your life when you stop carrying the weight of managing, fixing, saving, controlling, or carrying other adults. Whew. Let's talk about what responsibility is not. All right, because we want to know, well, what the heck is responsibility? What is it? It's not shame. It's not guilt. It's not self-punishment. It's not martyrdom. And it's definitely not self-abandonment. Okay? Healthy responsibility means becoming consciously aware of yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, your body, becoming accountable for every aspect of your being, right? Mind, body, spirit, emotions, all the taking responsibility and accountability for yourself, right? Becoming intentional about what you do, what you say, how you act, how you show up, and participating in your own growth and evolution with all of the above that I just stated. Okay? Consciously participating, consciously taking accountability, consciously being intentional, and actually participating in your life. Okay? So you got to ask yourself the questions. How am I showing up in the world? Right? Trauma usually leads us to controlling our environment. And how were we taught? What's our conditioning? Were we taught to do things in a certain way? Or are we taught to, you have to review all of that stuff for yourself. Because what you are responsible for is your actions, what you say, how you treat people, your behaviors towards others, your reactions in certain circumstances and others, your choices in life is your responsibility. Your healing is your responsibility. Okay? You are not what happened to you. That happened to you, and that's part of the story, and that's what brought out all of those emotions for you to shed light on, illuminate, and love and heal. Okay? So you're responsible for the healing part, not for the whole look what they did to me. So that's shifting yourself into that new state of being. Okay? Your healing and your self-awareness and your boundaries and your growth are all your responsibility. So someone who may have grown up in a chaotic and abusive environment, so they may continue harming others. They may refuse to look at their patterns. They may refuse accountability. They may stay unconscious, and that's them in their survival mode. Okay, they're not really taking responsibility for their own healing. They're just kind of staying in that hamster wheel. So when we reflect on ourselves, let's reflect on ourselves and ask ourselves, are we in whatever it is that our thoughts are, emotions are we blaming others for how we're feeling and what happened to us and all this other stuff and how it made us feel or whatever fits? Or are we taking responsibility for ourselves? Okay. You are responsible for your mind. And that means you got to pay attention to your thoughts. That means you got to question any destructive beliefs. You got to question which beliefs are destructive, right? How do you know what you need to unlearn? How do you know what you're conditioned to believe that's not healthy for you? You have to become aware of that conditioning. All right? You need to protect your mental health. That's what you're responsible for. And recognizing what repeatedly harms your nervous system. So pay attention to your body. Your nervous system is telling you. We just are taught to dissociate and ignore. That's what we're taught because that's what we're taught responsible for other people, right? So let's say if someone is constantly doom scrolling negativity, stays in toxic environments for themselves, surround themselves with emotional chaos, refuses rest, or ignores mental overwhelm, right? That's eventually your mind and your nervous system is going to begin to suffer very deeply. So when we take responsibility for ourselves, we ask ourselves, am I feeding my mind poison or peace? So check what you're exposing yourself to. You could ask yourself when you take responsibility for yourself is, am I allowing constant stress into my life? Pay attention to your body. It's telling you what stresses you out. Don't ignore what your body's telling you. You can ask yourself, am I choosing environments that support my healing? Ooh, that's a tough one because a lot of times we want to be honest with ourselves. We don't want to be truthful about maybe who or what circumstances are actually not balanced, because sometimes they're just teetering right there, but it's just enough to start draining you. So it's tough, but we need to actually ask these questions. Okay. And we are responsible for our bodies. I mean, think about it. We're these beautiful spiritual energy beings in itty bitty living space in this meat suit, this bio meat suit. Is dense enough to carry us and to keep us in this plane. We are responsible for taking care of this vehicle. Okay. You got to change the oil in the car, the engine's going to blow. So recognize this vehicle as something sacred and take responsibility for it. I'm suffering the consequences of that level of self-neglect and abandonment because everyone else required my attention. So I felt responsible for everyone else and I didn't take care of this vessel. And now, you know what I mean? I'm fixing it. So let's take responsibility for our bodies too and get the rest that we need, our nervous system and bodies need. Get the nourishment that we need. Drink more water. Drink water. Lordy, lordy. Hardly anyone drinks water. Enough of it. Drink, drink, drink. Lots of water. Movement. Any kind of movement. Even little movements like this. It doesn't matter what you do. Just do. Getting better sleep. So figure out what's bothering you and what the reasons are for you not sleeping. Some of us live with pain on a regular basis. So for some of us, it's that. So then in that sense, take sleep whenever you can get it. If you feel sleepy in the middle of the day, but you shame yourself out of taking a nap because, oh, we're not supposed to do that. Stop doing that. Just let yourself sleep. Sleep is valuable because we regenerate ourselves, we rebuild ourselves. We have to take responsibility for the things that we actually need and figure out how we can help ourselves. You got to take care of your nervous system. You got to get medical care when possible, if needed. And you got to protect your own physical safety. So figure out how you can make your life comfortable. Okay? Don't continue to ignore your exhaustion. Don't keep pushing beyond burnout. Don't neglect whatever concerns come up for you medically and otherwise. Obviously, don't stay in dangerous environments. Get an exit strategy. You all know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. Okay? And don't abandon your body's signals anymore, okay? Because it's just going to get louder and more powerful and profound. It's going to come out with more anxiety, more chronic stress, more illnesses, more fatigue, more inflammation in the body, and more emotional meltdowns and shutdowns. So pay attention to how you feel, all right? And check in with yourself. Ask yourself, am I listening to my body with love or judgment? You're responsible for loving yourself. You're responsible for healing yourself, and you're responsible for moving yourself forward. So listen to what this vessel is telling you, okay? Just like the check engine light comes on in the car, all of those things that I just listed is like the check engine light telling you, hello, we need attention and love here. You are responsible for your spirit, your soul, okay? Protect your peace. Protect your integrity. If it's not true for you or aligned for you, find a way to politely say no. Protect your energy. Don't let people suck the life out of you, okay? And protect your alignment with your truth and the love that you have that's equal to yours. Don't jump in and overgive and overextend yourself right away. Okay. So you have to ask yourself, what drains my spirit? What nourishes my spirit? Am I abandoning myself to maintain relationships? Okay. Am I betraying my truth? Am I spiritually connected or spiritually depleted? You got to ask yourself all these questions to take responsibility for yourself. Okay. We don't want to stay in toxic relations or abusive dynamics or manipulative environments. We're not built for constant chaos like that. That fear is destroying us. So let's take responsibility and make sure that we have the boundaries that we require, the distance that we require, the honesty, first and foremost, with ourselves, because we are choosing peace now, not approval. Okay? Attraction does not equal compatibility. So let's talk about what you're not responsible for. And this is where many people need the healing, especially those conditioned to become caretakers. So, all y'all people pleasers and caretakers, listen up. We are not fixing adults, not responsible. We are not saving people from themselves, not responsible. We're not managing everyone's emotions. We're not responsible. We're not keeping everyone happy, not responsible. We're not rescuing people who refuse growth. You're not responsible. You're not carrying another person's healing. That's not your responsibility. You are certainly not sacrificing yourself to prove that you're worthy of love or to prove your love. You're not responsible for that. And you're not abandoning your needs so that others can stay comfortable. You are not responsible to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Okay? So if you're that emotional caretaker type, that when you walk into a room and instantly feel responsible for everyone's mood, comfort, and emotions and everyone's conflicts, pay attention to why. Because you might have learned in childhood that if I keep everyone okay, maybe I'll be safe. That's survival conditioning and not healthy responsibility. All right. So many people were also taught unhealthy responsibility through their trauma, family conditioning, religion, gender roles. You all people pleasers, you listening? Because you're on that list. The survival patterns that we have and emotional manipulation. So when you question, is this my responsibility? Think of why you became responsible for it in the first place, and it's probably going to fall in those categories. So it's not your job to keep the peace in the family. That's someone else avoiding their own, taking responsibility for themselves. That's not on you to abandon yourself the way they're abandoning themselves and suppressing themselves and practicing avoidance and abandoning their truth. That's when someone gives you pushback for you saying no and holding a boundary for yourself, they have yet to reflect on those things that they are uncomfortable with. You are not responsible for where they're at in their journey. Okay? And it is not at all selfish for you to prioritize yourself. It's not selfish. I mean, it's self-centered, okay? Because we are putting ourselves at the top of the priority list. That doesn't mean that we're not taking others into consideration. It just means that we're not going to abandon ourselves to do so. So that we don't continue to overgive and burn out and all that jazz. You don't have to save everybody that you love. Are you somebody that rescues endlessly? Are you somebody that enables unhealthy behavior? Are you somebody that sacrifices yourself? Are you somebody that confuses suffering with love? Ooh. When you reflect on, are you taking responsibility for, in earlier years, your parents, in later years, your friends, teachers, aunts, uncles, adults, relationships, okay? Because your origins of how you are is starting from home base, your origin family. So, are you a grown up now that feels guilty setting boundaries? Are you taking on responsibility to emotionally regulate those around you? Do you get trapped in false sense of obligation? Right? Do you have this like rejection sensitivity and fear of disappointing others? So, take that stuff into consideration as your indicators that you're somewhere in unhealthy responsibility. And that's part of that conditioning that you need to unlearn. So, when is it appropriate to carry responsibility for others? Because healthy responsibility towards others does exist, but we got to remain balanced. So, appropriate responsibility, like for kids, okay, you're a parent, you're protecting, you're guiding, you're emotionally supporting, you're keeping the kids safe, nourished, teaching healthy values. Um, Kids depend on adults. That's the way it goes. So that's an obvious form of responsibility that's appropriate. What about family members, like an aging parent, for example? If you need to help that aging parent with appointments, groceries, emotional support, transportation, or care, yes, that's absolutely loving, but you can still set boundaries and say no to and not take responsibility for sacrificing your entire identity. Okay, so there's boundaries in that dynamic that you can set. Don't destroy your mental health over it. Don't tolerate abuse, okay? Because a lot of us in that dynamic have parents that are elderly and that are still abusive towards us. And don't abandon your own well being completely, okay? Healthy caregiving still requires boundaries. And that's the dynamic of caring for another adult. That's acceptable. So, in relationships, in a healthy relationship, we are responsible for communication, for honesty, accountability, respect, effort, and emotional maturity. We are not responsible for fixing our partners, for healing their trauma in them, for forcing them to grow faster than life unfolds for them to naturally grow and evolve, or for carrying the entire emotional labor of the relationship, because that leads you to self-abandonment. That leads you to re-injuring all of those neglect wounds that you have and triggers every ounce of every insecurity that you have. That's emotional neglect. When you're carrying the entire emotional labor for the relationship and doing all the work for both of you because maybe they don't express themselves or they're emotionally unavailable because they're parts of them that are not healed. They haven't, people can only meet you to the depth and level to which they have met their own heart and their own healing and their own pain and move through those pains in a healthy way and productive. If they're not on that healing journey and not at a certain place of understanding and love of themselves, they're not going to be able to give to you. So emotional labor falling on you is not acceptable. You need to express what your needs are and give them an opportunity to either level up or step aside. Okay. So, boundaries are an act of love. And we don't have to make them punishing or make them feel rejected, or they don't have to sound cruel. They're just clarifiers of what you will and won't resonate with, accept, tolerate, wish to experience. They simply let people know where you end and where you begin. Okay. So healthy boundaries are like, I love you and I am not going to carry this for you. I support you and your choices are still yours. Not taking responsibility for your choices. I'm just going to be here to support you in whatever you believe is right for you, right? Something like that. You can tell people something as simple as, I need rest. If there's you. Sometimes people confuse rest for laziness. So it is okay to say it is a need. Okay? You can say something like, I'm not available after certain hours for crisis, to take care of your own needs and to make sure you're not overextending yourself. You can tell people that I won't betray myself and I won't abandon myself. So if something is not aligned with me, I may not maintain the connection. I've said that to people myself. You can tell people I deserve peace. That's perfectly acceptable. So life is your classroom. I say life is my adventure. I live my adventure and my life is a sitcom. When you view it from that space of learning and that heart-centered space of learning about yourself through the eyes of unconditional love and compassion, your entire life becomes your classroom, okay? Every experience that you had offers you an opportunity for higher awareness, expansive growth, more depth in your healing, and just more depth and rich wisdom and transformation, right? So ask yourself, am I growing consciously? Am I repeating cycles unconsciously? Am I living aligned with my values? And am I protecting my peace? Am I taking care of my body, my mind, and my spirit? Think about that. And am I becoming who I am meant to become? Okay, because we know we can't control other people or other people's healings or choices or their evolution, but we can control our participation, our awareness, our boundaries, and our actions. That's what we can control. So that's where our true power lives. And I come with all of those disclaimers when I make new connections, and even when my old connections, I tell people I have my parameters, and I tell people directly I have circles. You're either in my inner circle because I can be fully myself and present, or you're just in a different place. And that's okay. It's all good for me. So ask yourself, where have you've been avoiding responsibility in your own life? What area of your body, mind, and spirit needs your care, more care? And what truth have you been resisting? Okay. Ask yourself if you're being over responsible. Where are you carrying things that don't belong to you? Do you feel responsible for other adults' emotions still? And have you confused self-sacrifice with love? And what would happen if you stopped rescuing people? Ooh, that's a tough one. And you ask yourself, who am I becoming? What patterns am I ready to release? What does protecting my peace even look like? I know what mine looks like, and I make sure that I maintain my protection of my peace because I'm at my priority list. So that keep that in mind. How do you protect your peace? And what would healthy responsibility feel like in your life? Okay. You know what's yours. You know what's mine. I'm going to say mine. Yours and theirs. That sounds weird. Mine and yours. Like there's the distinct difference. And that's, I think, what the biggest message is, that you're only ever really responsible for yourself, how you show up, how you grow, how you evolve, how you love consciously, how you protect yourself, how you care for your mind, body, and spirit, and how you show up authentically in your own truth in this world. That is all you are responsible for. And then the healthy responsibility externally comes in the two examples that I gave, but there's obviously more ways you have healthy responsibility in every aspect of life, like your jobs, with your friendship circles, and etc. So in every aspect of life, there is a spectrum of how much responsibility and what's not your responsibility. And so as you evolve and take responsibility for yourself, remember that the greatest responsibility you will ever have is the relationship that you cultivate with yourself. Because when you become healthier within yourself, you naturally bring healthier energy into the world around you. Okay. So let's not forget that. And let's remember that our goal is to evolve continuously. And that's going to mean that there's going to be a lot of heads that are going to roll, because we're going to set a lot more boundaries and drop a lot of things we should have never been doing in the first place. So let's talk about it. I'm sure we got tons of questions, Micah. Bubble Kitten says, for a long time, I blamed the people that did the harm for the pain and moods it caused. I did this for years and used to fuel my anger. 100%. That's victimhood mentality. I lived there myself for a long time because I couldn't view the pain in my heart in that way and take responsibility for myself yet in that way. When I learned self-love is when things started to change. Bubble Kittens continues, it was easier to care for everyone else and neglect myself for 48 years. Now I'm 49 and having to relearn how to care for myself. That's amazing. That's amazing work. Keep going, because guess what? You're a grown-ass adult. You get to do it your way. No one's supervising you. It's all you. Look, take advantage of it. Cindy says, I've raised 5 children. Go Supermom. I lived in constant chaos. However, my body is slowly acclimating to the quiet. Yeah. So that's where we talk about putting in healthy things to stimulate ourselves. We don't really want the chaos. We want the peace and the calm, but we want the excitement. It's excitement that we want. Our bodies don't necessarily know the difference. That's the part that we need to remind ourselves of and say, I can duplicate what my body needs in a healthy, loving way. And that means get excited, do exciting things, try something new, learn something new. Cinder Kitten says, my body cringed at all that, Revdi. Logically, I know all that, but emotionally, it's hard to break that binding chain. It so is, Cinder Kittens. And thank you for sharing that. It is because we're trained to feel guilty. We're trained to feel ashamed of not meeting other people's expectations, demands, and standards. Who wrote that book? This is where we have to question, do I even align with that? And a lot of us, I'm going to use religious trauma. A lot of us have questioned that have religious trauma had to break free from that specific organization because we started questioning, do I even align with that? Does that even resonate with me? That's the hard part. Do I resonate with the conditioning? Because it makes me feel horrible. If it makes me feel horrible, that's not cool either, right? Cindy is sharing with Cinder Kittens, normal is a setting on a washing machine, not a setting on a person. Rest when your body needs it. Yes. Yes. 100%. And I think it's your responsibility to give yourself the rest, which means you're going to have to go against what's been normalized, and what's been normalized is unhealthy. So they want to have you exhausted and fatigued and not thinking clearly and constant chaos and stress on the nervous system because it's releasing all that cortisol. We don't want to choose that. And yeah, we do get to choose. So you have to let your body rest when it tells you to. That is so super important. So thank you for bringing that up. Bubblekin says, I was conditioned to be a people-pleasing caretaker. Yeah, I was trained from birth to be a servant and to not do anything but serve for free. Which meant all the logistics and operations and hard labor that it was included in managing a household. So I was told to do all of the roles. So that's the responsibility that was placed on that family dynamic. And it's exactly, Bubble Kittens. We have the same patriarchal, misogynistic, systemic conditioning because that's what it is. So it's really up to us to restore balance, because this false sense of obligation or responsibility towards the things that we were never meant to carry goes both ways. So there's the other side of the conditioning where maybe they were taught to take responsibility for a lot of things that they never meant to carry, and then not take any responsibility for at all for the things that they're supposed to take responsibility for. We all have our own conditioning, and so all of us have to decide um, how we actually feel. And so there's a permission that has to come along with that, because the conditioning and the programming has been around for centuries. It's not okay. It's up to us to denormalize. And Cindy says, my mama is not my responsibility. I tell myself this every day. Yeah. This is hard because we all love our parents. And what are we taking responsibility for our parents? Are we trying to fix them? Are we trying to change their belief systems to help them grow? Are we trying to please them and meet their expectations? What are we responsible for? What are we taking responsibility for? Did they get sickly and have an illness now it's people are looking to you and be like, well, she's going to be your problem now. That kind of stuff that happens in real life. It's a thing. So like, that's a tough one, because they're our parents and they raised us and gave us all the checklist of things. We're here. We survived. We may not thrive, but we're alive. We're working on that part. It's a tough one because there are certain requirements that will seem like you're being selfish and unloving and inconsiderate of the parent. But love does not require us to set ourselves on fire to the point where it is detrimental and disruptive of our natural rhythm and flow and our peace. I took a step back from helping with my mother's care when my dad said I wasn't doing enough. I said, okay, Dad, I love you. Here you go. Thank you for doing that. Thank you. Because your idea of what's healthy does not align with what their idea of healthy is. And what that's going to do is project all of these demands and expectations on you that you don't even align with. And that's not fair. That's a false sense of obligation. That's not a responsibility. Lunaria says, I left my parents after I had far too much of helping my father die. And I say it that way because he is killing himself with alcohol. Yeah. Can't do it anymore. Yeah. We cannot take responsibility for other people's choices, their hamster wheels, their cycles that they need to choose to free themselves from. All we're responsible for is how we show up in the world. And maybe, just maybe, with our love and how we show up and how we shift with more compassion, more consideration, more just genuine authenticity coming from us, exuding from us, they're going to be inspired to consider shifting or rethinking or changing a perspective in some way. That there's no guarantee. It's a whole different life experience. Things aren't the same as they were 30 years ago. Think about what the heck we were doing 30 years ago. So now imagine the older generation and what they were experiencing all those years ago. So protect your own peace from yourself and your own expectations and judgments. In what ways do you project your limiting beliefs onto someone else because you're expecting them to have your awareness? And that's also something that you need to take responsibility for. Lunaria says, honestly, at Diane, I don't think I know how to look at myself that way. No one ever has, and I certainly don't. So I don't even know how to love myself. Girl, you in the right place, because we all learning that right here. We're learning that every single day. And thank you for sharing that. And that's the process of asking yourself and questioning everything. That's the self-discovery process, and that reaching that place of like, does this feel good in my heart? Does my nervous system rest? Does this bring me synchronicities and abundance? Does my body give me any warnings that I should be aware of? You got to ask yourself everything. I tell people, give yourself just give yourself a clean slate. It sounds so easy. The way I said it, I was like, it's no big deal. No, it's a big deal because it's life changing. Let me just brush it off like it's nothing. It's life changing. And Cinder Kitten says, Lenore, I'm in the same boat. Nobody ever taught me how to love. I still feel responsible for parents' emotions, especially when it comes to things like this. I haven't been able to figure out what I am other than human. but most men have never. There's more to this. There's more. Let me find the more. Hold on, Cinder Kittens. I got to find the more. Let's see. Unless Micah finds it before me. He might. I don't know what the rest of it said. There you go. Oh, no, wait, that's Bubble Kittens. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Okay. Taught me, loved, or proved in their own way. Thank you for finding that. Okay. So the self-love piece, that's why you're here on Rise Awakenings. We're teaching you every show how to love yourself. Every technique, every idea, thought pattern, shift, you are all actively learning to love yourself. And I think we need to give ourselves more gratitude and acknowledgement for all the work that we actually are doing on ourselves. And it's a process that all the subjects that we've talked about, these are all the tools and techniques and mindset shifts to rewire our brains and align ourselves with that self-love. So keep activating those aspects of your heart. Keep opening your heart and expanding your knowledge and expanding your questions and question everything. Give yourself a clean slate in order to reduce the conditioning. It's question everything. That's the clean slate. How do I feel about this deodorant? Do I really like it, or is it because my mom told me to buy it? I don't care how ridiculous you think it sounds. Question everything. Do I really enjoy giving my time to this organization, or am I just doing it because I feel obligated? Ask yourself. Nick says, it's hard not to repeat the normal, quote unquote, with your own kids, or even worse, pull too far in the opposite direction to not do that to your kids. I did that to my kids. Exactly what you just said is that's the kind of mom I was. I didn't, because I didn't have the information. I had no idea. The beauty of it is you guys are getting a clue, if your kids are young, but you guys are aware. I have older kids, and I know some of the folks in the chat have older kids. No matter what your age is, understand your kids are still watching. If their kids are younger, yay, you have a earlier time, you're catching it earlier to take responsibility for yourself and to become the best version of yourself through these self-love practices, through seeing yourself as a divine being. We are all expressions of the same creation, and loving ourselves only comes from taking responsibility for our hearts, our mind, our spirit, our soul in the healthiest of ways that we talked about here today. Watch every show or listen to the replays. Bubble Kitten says it's exactly what it is. If they are happy, I am safe. And if they are cared for, I am safe. Correct. At what cost to your spirit? At what cost to your spirit? At what cost to your humanity? At what cost to your peace and your joy and your happiness? Those are important questions and very valid questions. Why does everyone else get that, the good stuff, and not you? What parts of you don't feel like you deserve your peace? It cost me everything. It did. It did. That's not balanced. That's a system of beliefs. That's a conditioning. That's a system of beliefs that isn't healthy. And if you are a big history buff or watch enough movies to know that they kind of are showing you what things are like in life, you'll notice the addictions, the this, the that, the escapism, the, things were not okay in the past at all. Not okay legally, financially, mentally, emotionally. None of it was okay. So you all know what past I'm talking about, and that applies to you however it is meant to apply to you. Recognize that you're at a time now where you get to actually choose to think, act, and be different. Yes, it's uncomfortable because it's something new, but when you take the judgment and when you take the conditioned responsibility off of your shoulders and just decide you're only responsible to your heart and learning and understanding yourself, everything changes. You're only responsible for you, not anyone else, ever. Okay? Lunaria says, it seems to be a lot easier to love others than myself. That's why I often feel like a fraud in doing my shows. But you're not a fraud, because what you're doing is you're showing us what you've experienced and what you're moving through. What you're doing is you're sharing your heart, and that is the most loving thing that you can do for all of us, and a loving thing that you can do for yourself, because pain needs a witness sometimes. And you're giving us raw stuff to work with. So I think your shows are incredibly impactful, inspirational, and meaningful, and they just show your true, authentic heart. How is that fraud? That's not. That's imposter syndrome, and that's the lies that you were told that says, who do you think you are? You're not enough. You're not smart enough. You don't understand anything. That's the insults that you were getting all that time. You can throw that shit in the trash. That's the conditioning and the programming to get rid of. Remember, if it's unkind and discompassionate and inconsiderate and disrespectful of you, throw it in the trash, period. Throw it in the trash. How's that? Try that on for size. Get the flamethrower out, because we like to throw it in the trash and set it on fire. Take what feels right in your heart. Self-discovery starts with taking responsibility, with asking the gamut of questions you got to ask yourself, right? I think every show on Rise Awakenings is helping you learn how to love yourself. And I highly encourage you to go listen to some of the replays and check the titles and see what draws to you, and then go listen to that. So that's because I play spin it or whatever you call that, and then just let it stop somewhere randomly and see what resonates with you, and pick a show and listen to something. So if maybe something's weighing heavily on your heart, try to see if maybe there's a topic that's going to be covered that'll help you. And don't forget, we are energetic beings that emanate an electromagnetic field that affects other people around us, and we do enmesh into other people's energy fields with proximity and other things. So we do need to conscientiously choose ourselves all the time, and check in with ourselves all the time, and question ourselves all the time to make sure we know who we are, so that we decide, is this mine that I'm feeling, or does this come from somewhere else? Are the stars or planets doing some things, or what's happening here? Thank you, Lunaria. Yes. We got to let everything go that really isn't ours to keep. We're not responsible for the limitations and the projections and the expectations of others that exist in a system that we don't agree with. Okay? Follow your heart. Be true to yourself. Align with your authentic self. Oh gosh, I think that's a lot. And I know I'm missing something, and I'm sorry but you'll find out on Embers of Light. Go check it out. There's a great chat happening in there, I'm told. So I'm going to go find out what that looks like. The rocks in the backpack that we carry can be put down. Put it all down. Thank you, Micah, for that one. Let's put it all down. No more carrying others' burdens. And you are not a burden to carry. You are a magical treasure box waiting for you to find all the hidden treasures you have inside of you. So go discover yourself and go love yourself. Okay, I love you.
From the soil of your sorrow, petals from pain, new color in tomorrow. You walk through the dark with a soft, steady truth, holding your heart till your heart carries you. This is the This is the blue.
Hey, this is Brindle Wolf.
And I'm Lunaria.
You're listening to Rise Awakenings, part of the Rise Radio Network where advice meets action.
We're here to spark your growth, lift your spirit, and help you crush your potential.
Rise awakening, hear the call. Through the static, we break the wall. Your station, your voice where dreams awaken inside. Rise awakening, now is the time.
Rise Awakenings. Let's rise together.